Hi, I'm Taylor, a QA at Atono. Welcome to our web education series. In this video, we'll be discussing how you can use the story refinement area to help you get your feature ideas off the ground and ready to implement. This workflow lets you quickly jot ideas down and iterate on them before they're ready for a team to process. It ensures that team backlogs stay nice and lean, limited to only what's ready for them to work on. Let's dive in. There's a link directly to the story refinement area in the left-hand nav menu, where you can add new feature ideas for further consideration. You'll notice that it looks and functions similarly to regular team backlogs, with a list view, with a board view, with the ability to filter by certain fields, and the ability to toggle certain visibilities. The story refinement backlog does not include any estimated done dates or any cycle time data. So you'll notice that normally we'd see that in the idea phase, but that's not here. And that's because this information is more relevant to specific team backlogs. Additionally, you'll notice that stories and refinement don't have a size. This is intentional, as we believe that teams should be setting their own sizes on stories based on their processes that make sense for them. Lastly, the story refinement area is only for stories. It's in the name, so bugs can't be added here. Suppose you're consulting with a customer and they've expressed a need for a user rating system. You actually think it's a good idea and you want to jot that idea down, even though it doesn't correspond to any of your team's current objectives. Let's add that to story refinement. In the same way as I would add an item to a regular Atono backlog, I can add the story to the idea step of the story refinement workflow by the left-hand nav here, by the workflow step header here, by right-clicking and adding before or after, or by using the quick add functionality at the end of the idea phase. Let's go ahead and add that story to our idea phase. I don't know exactly how this feature will work yet, so I'll keep it short for the moment with a brief high-level description. As a synthesizer enthusiast, I want to rate synthesizers on a 5-star scale so that I can share my opinion with others. After reflecting on the story for a few days and speaking to some colleagues, I'm realizing that this is a feature I want to roll out to my customers soon. So we're going to go ahead and move it to the refinement phase. I'm going to go ahead and move it into the refinement category where I can own in on the specifics. Over days or weeks, maybe I've talked to some more stakeholders, and this has really fleshed out what I want this feature to look like. In the refinement phase, I can crystallize what I want my acceptance criteria to look like. Additionally, I can fit this story into a product theme I've been considering for a while, user feedback. We'll go ahead and do that. User feedback, and we've defined these ACs to be like so. So a user should be able to submit ratings, they should get a success message, and they should contribute to an overall average. Once the story is well defined, it's ready to be dispatched to the appropriate team for them to prioritize. So we can move this over to the ready for assignment phase. The person who is writing these stories might not necessarily be the person who's assigning them for teams, so I'll put on my other hat and we'll assign this to the right team for processing. This belongs in the MIDI team's backlog since that's their product area. And you'll note that if I go back to their backlog, it appears at the end of their to-do section, ready for them to process. After being moved to the MIDI team's backlog, you'll notice that it disappears from the refinement area. Now, not every story idea will be a winner. Maybe the story isn't feasible, maybe it just doesn't fit into your organization's current objectives. And in these cases, you can send a story idea to the won't do workflow step. So we had this user review story that just really didn't pan out. We're going to go ahead and drag it over to won't do. Stories that are moved to won't do will remain there in perpetuity. So if in 6 months or a year's time you find you want to revisit the story, you can always drag it back and further refine it. By using the refinement area to iterate on story ideas and define clear acceptance criteria, we can keep team backlogs uncluttered with only stories that are ready for teams to work on. Thanks for watching.